So this has kind of covered some of this in chapter 1 briefly, because chapter 1 briefly is just talking about, well, what is technical communication? And sometimes it depends on who you ask, what kind of an answer you get. A lot of people think, oh, technical communication is just writing, is just tech writing, which is not true. Tech writing and technical communication, tech writing fits underneath technical communication, but it's a much bigger idea than that. So the whole idea of technical communication includes the whole, I need my little pen here, hang on. Where's my little highlighter? I don't like not having my highlighter. Okay. Sorry, I need my little pen here. Ooh, too small. Okay. So the whole idea of technical communication involves a bit more than normally you would, just like in a college English class, which I teach all the college English classes, is you're writing, right? I mean, you're reading too, hopefully, depending on what you're doing, but your concentration is on writing. So in technical communication, you're using the full gambit of all 4 skills. You need to learn how to listen, because you're usually working in groups. You're usually working with other material, other people, and managing teams, possibly, depending on what you're doing. So it's about listening as well. You're often speaking also, because it depends on what you're working with. Also, if you're working with other people, and if you have to present pieces, what you're doing with it. Lots of reading usually, because you're writing some kind of a document that has to do with something outside of yourself, and you're not just turning it into a teacher when you're working in the technical communication field. And obviously you're still writing. So what is it overall? You need to understand purpose. So these are kind of skimming the top of the big ideas that we'll be talking about for the rest of the semester, essentially. So one of them is understanding purpose, right? So it helps others learn about a subject, and it helps them carry out a task or make a decision. So think about when you buy a new computer or you buy a bookshelf, you need to be able to carry out a task, right? You need to be able to put it together. You need to be able to turn it on and make it work. Or if you need to make some kind of a decision, you need all the pieces. You need to know all the stats about something. You need to know which one's better. What does it cost? What does it do? I need to know if I should buy this one or I should buy this one. Should I go this way? Should I go that way? So these kind of documents help people make these decisions. It also helps people learn about subjects when you're talking about technical communication. So you're talking about materials, you're talking about research, you're talking about lab reports, you're talking about websites, that kind of a thing. Technical communication reinforces or changes attitudes, which is a big thing, right? It uses persuasion. It's heavily persuasive. So that's a big part of purpose, which will also fall into the next slide as well. And it motivates. So you have to understand attitude, how to manipulate attitude in order to alter motivation to get readers to take action, which is a pretty big order, a pretty tall order. So in order to do that, you have to understand your audience. How do you alter somebody's attitude? How do you motivate somebody to do something? Or even understand how somebody may put together a shelf if you don't understand your audience. How can they use a document? How can they make a decision? How can they feel a certain way if you don't understand the people that are looking at your specific document in the first place, whatever shape or form that document may be. And that document could be a report, it could be a lab report, it could be a proposal, it could be a website, it could be a cookbook, it could be a poster, it could be anything like that falls under the whole idea of technical communication. More specific, like academic writing for school, because you are reaching towards specific audiences versus, when you're writing for me in English 101, English 102, you're assuming that you're writing it for me, which is different than using for thinking about specific audiences. Who's going to figure out how to use this laptop or this iPhone or this baby toy or whatever. It's directly connected to purpose, because where is somebody going to be when they're trying to use this guide to connect their water pipe under their sink? They're probably not going to be standing in, at the kitchen table in a well-lit room, and want to look at small print. They're probably going to be in their bathroom halfway under their sink trying to fix their leaky pipe. So you want to think about how you design that document to walk them through the steps, right? Or think about yourself when you get a new phone or a new piece of electronics. Do you really want to open up a 400-page booklet to read about how to use it? I don't. I want like 5 steps to tell me how to turn it on and use it right now. I have no patience for that. I got a French press for my birthday because, I don't know, I watched too many British shows and I totally just wanted one. And it came with this long booklet of like 40 steps or something. And at first I was like, I'm not going to read that. I'm totally just going to throw coffee in there and hope for the best. And then a little tiny document fell out of it that was folded up into these little squares. And when I unfolded it, it was like 5 steps to coffee now. And I was like, oh, I love you French press people, because that's what I wanted. I opened it and I wanted to make coffee right now. Okay, so the purpose and design have to be connected. What do people want to do with it? And do they want to do it now? Or is it something that they're willing to take the time to deal with connecting things or reading things and more research, right? It's important to understand in order to be effective, right? You don't want to shortchange somebody on it either. You need to understand your audience, because if you misunderstand them, whatever it is you're writing could heavily, heavily miss its purpose and miss the mark because you didn't understand the group you were writing for in the first place. All right, so challenges of producing technical communication is basically what we were just talking about. Audience-related factors, you need to be able to understand who the different groups are that you're writing it for and what may be important to them. Purpose-related factors, same thing. You need to be able to think about all the different ways that this document or documents or whatever it is you're writing might be used, what it may be used for, all right? What is the purpose of it? The setting-related factors, some of the things I just said. Where are people going to be when they're using this? What may hamper them for being able to use it because of how you made it? Is it appropriate for it to be in a little fold-out picture-based thing, or do you really actually need some words? A few years ago, I got a cube. I think it was like a bunch of cubes bookshelf, which I actually really liked the bookshelf. But when I got it and I unfolded the directions, it was just a picture. And it was all just pictures. There was no writing at all. And it was like from some Swedish company. And that was just unacceptable. There needed to be some kind of wording somewhere and some steps. Just having a picture like, here's your shelf, and here's the stuff for the shelf, and here's how it should be put together, sort of, and here's some pictures. That may be okay for Legos, but this was like a shelf that was in like 100 pieces. So there was a lot of swearing that happened there, and I'm sitting on the floor with it all spread out and all these different things. So that was not appropriate. So you have to think about where are people going to be when they're doing it and what might be okay. All right. So document related factors kind of goes with setting and your audience. Should it be an official lab report, or is it okay if it's something smaller? Should it be on a recipe card, or does it need to be a book? Or is it okay if it's a website? What does it need to be? Document related factors. Process related factors. What's going to be involved? Is a whole team going to be involved? Is the team spread out over multiple states or across a country, across a world? Who knows? Or is it just one person? So what kind of process needs to happen? Does it need to take a lot of time? Is it going to be something that can happen quickly? Is there already procedures in place? So there are factors that are involved here, and processes that may already be in place or need to be changed that could be challenges for a person to put together certain documents. Okay, so characteristics of a technical document, which we will be looking at heavily because it helps you kind of think about what should be there, what makes it a good document in the end. It specifically addresses particular readers, so I should be able to look at your document and understand, who are you trying to reach out to here? Who is this for? It helps readers solve a problem, whatever that problem may be. Otherwise, what was the purpose for your document in the first place? So I should be able to understand the purpose of your document. It reflects an organization's goals and culture, right? So it sort of is representative of either yourself or the people or company that you work for. It is produced collaboratively, not always, but very often, depending on what kind of a document it is. It uses design to increase readability, which is a huge part of this class that we'll talk about, is you don't just throw a bunch of words on a page. You don't just open Microsoft Word and just throw a bunch of crap up there and hope for the best. So we'll talk about how design helps you with all of the rest of this. Which is why it's called technical communication. That's part of why it's called technical communication. It consists of words or images or both. So technical communication can have a lot more to it than just an essay would, right? It's not just words. It can have a whole bunch of more to move across your point to your readers than just words would. Okay, last one, I promise. So technical communication, communicators in the workplace. Why is this important to you? Or why could it be important to you? Or why should it be important to you? So for one thing, if you can get good at this or even somewhat proficient at it, it shows that you have an ability to research, which all of you do, right? You all, when you want something or you want to know something, you look it up, right? I mean, even if that just means you Googled it, you made an effort to go find something, right? So it's a start. Ability to analyze information. You want to know something, you need to take that step further. Is this information correct? What other information is out there? Is there more to this? And what does it mean? Ability to speak and write clearly, always important. So you started that when you did English 101, English 102, right? Analyzing information, speaking and writing clearly. So putting that message out there in a different way. So instead of thinking of all this in these long type essay formats, you're going to get cut to the chase. Technical communication is not essay writing. This is people are looking for information pieces, right? We're kind of information miners. We want to cut to the chase. Give me the information. Get to the point. So you kind of cull away all the extra information and be precise. So also successful technical communicators usually have professional attitudes. They have good work ethics and they can work well with others, like in a team environment, even if it's just 2 people or 20 people. A lot of businesses have come to look at these kind of skills. So even if you're obviously, no matter what your major is, you have to know your information from your major clearly, no matter what that is. But in the bottom, you have to be able to also do these things. Because if you cannot analyze information, if you cannot communicate clearly, which is probably one of the biggest complaints that some of the big companies out there have been complaining about for about the last decade and a half about college graduates. They're like, well, they may know their information from their major, but they're unable to be useful with it because they cannot communicate clearly. So that's where technical communication can come in very handy, and bringing in your skills from your English writing courses is that you need to be able to use that information that